Hey guys, welcome back to Mondays with Mike. Super excited to have my wife, Nataly, my beautiful, amazing wife, join me on today's interview to wrap up part 2, journey of a power couple's entrepreneurship. And most importantly, what I'm super excited is for Nataly to inspire those of you that are women in business, or maybe you're a couple in business, maybe you work together, maybe you want to work together and have a business together. And this is our journey. So baby, say hi to everybody.
Hi guys, welcome to Mondays with Mike.
So we left off in part 1 talking about 2012 when I launched our very first collection agency with a partner. I did not have an opportunity to get into the challenges. What do you remember from 2012? I know that we kind of talked a little bit about it was super scary, one of the scariest things I've ever had to do. What do you remember about 2012, launching our first agency?
I remember you coming home. I think that we spoke about this in the first episode. I think you committed to open the agency, right? With you. You had to get a loan, right? Did we speak about that?
Yeah, from his dad. So in 2012, when we launched our first agency, just to kind of recap, we got a loan from my buddy's dad that was a business partner. He offered me partnership. He wanted me to run the agency, but he offered me partnership. We borrowed $50,000 and we paid him back $150,000 within about 10 months. And he gave us several years to pay him back, but we paid him back within 10 months. But it was one of the scariest things that I've ever had to do, that we've had to do together as a family. So what do you remember about the stress, and what was the experience when we opened that agency in 2012? Do you remember?
I think I was more stressed than you were. I think that's like a huge commitment. Maybe you didn't show it a little, but I was scared, It was just, you never been an entrepreneur before, and that was our first business. And I said, well, what if you don't make it the first month? What are we going to do, to pay our bills? But luckily, the time that you opened the business, that's when we had our tax money, our return. So we had at least, backup money to pay bills if we were negative the first 3 months. So I think that was like the most stressful time that I lived. Being an entrepreneur, just opening up your first business and not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, we call it going all in, burning the ships, and not being able to retreat back to anything else. And I do remember how scary it was. I told myself I would do anything I had to do to be successful. If I had to wake up at 5 in the morning, if I had to work until 8 o'clock at night, if I had to work Saturday and Sunday, if I had to do whatever I had to do to pay, at least we had about $10,000 in bills at that time. And we had a little bit of money saved. We didn't have a lot of money saved. We had a little bit of money, maybe 10, 20 grand.
Our bills they were not that high. They're probably like less than 10,000.
Like 8?
Maybe 8. Yeah, with rent, car payments, and, miscellaneous stuff. But yeah, you opened your business. It was great. Right? It went great. You were not negative, were you? I just don't No.
So when we started off, I think like my first month, we collected like $50,000 or $70,000, and it was just me, my partner, and a couple of people that we had recruited, like your brothers were working with us. So it wasn't a big team at all. That's a lot of money for just a few people. So we did really well, considering the fact that we didn't really have employees or anything. And then just within a few months, we did like $200,000 in like 3 or 4 months, which is where I was paying myself 10%. So we started making like $20,000 a month within the first 6 months of business. So to us, it was a huge win. It's like, all right, we made it already. I started thinking at that point, like, oh, we're rich. And we didn't know anything. Like $240,000 a year, $20,000 a month. You think that's really good money? It ain't shit. And we started realizing that after like 2-3 years. We're like, that's really not a lot of money, but we're comfortable. Talk about your experience as a stay-home mom, because in 2012, you weren't working with me yet. How was life like that?
It was great. Being the stay-at-home mom was great to one point, to a certain point, right? I think I was just more, he would come home late, you know, from working late nights, staying home at the office staying at the office until 7 p.m., sometimes 8, you know, because he was a collector, he was a manager, he was everything. He was what they say, right? Chef, a cook,
the server, the busboy, the dishwasher.
So, I mean, I left, stayed at home. I was taking care of my kids and being a wife. But when the kids grew, I was tired of, I was tired of staying at home. So I don't want to go fast forward to life, but let's finish up our 2012 with up until 20.
So from 2012 to 2014, I was pretty much doing everything for the agency. My partner wasn't doing much. I was running the whole company. I was collecting. I was managing.
If you're watching this, you know it.
So in 2014, I decided to start my own agency by myself without a partner. I did go to Mom to help her, to ask her to use some of her credentials because I was still fixing our credit. We had bad credit. We were not smart with finance prior to being business owners. So I was still reestablishing our credit and things like that. Same thing with you. We were reestablishing our credit. So in order for us to get a merchant account back in those days, and for those of you that don't know what a merchant account, it's credit card processing software or a platform where you can run credit card payments and debit card payments. So we needed good credit. I also didn't feel like I had enough capital saved just in case something went wrong. So we probably had like $30,000, $40,000 in the bank at that time. And we went to Mom and Mom said, yeah, if I believe in you, I've seen what you've done in the last 2 years. I'm willing to sign for you. I'm willing to, to back you up. So that's when we split up from our partner. And in 2014 in December, we launched our very first agency on our own. And that was also scary. It wasn't as scary as the first one, but it was also very scary because now I don't have anybody to lean on for help, So in 2015, we launched full force our agency without a partner. And that's when we shut down the other agency. Most of the employees came with us because I had the leadership. Without even knowing it, I had the leadership. So when me and my partner split up, we basically said, let's let all the collectors choose. We probably had about 15 collectors. We said, let's let them choose where they want to go. It's up to them. And they all chose to come with me. So what do you remember about that?
I just remember, you being stressed too about opening up this new business by yourself, like a sole business person. No, like you said, no anyone to lean on but me. I just remember you telling me, hey, we're going to just open up a new business. We already spoke with the employees. Half of them are coming with me. The other ones are
90%.
90%. They're
most of them, or maybe one
either they were going with the ex-partner or with other people, right? Or they were just doing any other business. And I remember you opened up your business and everything went great. We had my family there, my brothers, it was like a small team. They were doing admin, they were doing everything that needs to be productive on a business, or not productive, but managed, like admin, processing payments and all that. You had a structure when you opened. So that was like a great, like a push for you to be more confident on what you were doing, because you had like the little small team helping you organize that office. So, excuse me. So I think it was easier, but a little bit maybe stressful to you. I thought so. You were like, it was something that you wanted, but at the same time, you were a little bit stressed. And until this day, you know, you're a stressful man. But yeah, everything went well. So you want to.
Yeah, in 2015, I was just focusing on like structuring the business and making us profitable. And I didn't even know about like profits back then. Like I knew that our profit was the money that I make. I knew that, but I wasn't measuring and calculating every single penny like I do now. Right now, it's like if we make $2 million of gross in a month, what's my net? Like that's the most important question now that I ask myself. What is our net? I better be at 20% at least. And if I'm not at 20%, I better know why. And it better be something that we can fix. And back then I just knew, all right, we make 100 grand. I made 20 grand. I'm good. 30 grand or 200 grand. I made 40, 50 G's. Like, all right, cool. Like I'm in 2015, it was all about proving the concept. And then in 2016, I recruited a general manager that worked at another agency that I used to work for, who was my general manager at the law firm. And I'm not mentioning names on purpose, guys. So I recruited him. And in 2016, without even knowing back then, I found the power of delegation. So I figured, all right, I'm managing, I'm not closing too much anymore. I don't want to take the calls from my team. I want to give them the opportunity to make the money. So if I get a good manager, I can take a step back and I can be an absentee owner. And that's exactly what happened in 2016. I hired a general manager that I worked for, and you know who he is. And that's what I remember in 2016.
You know who you are.
And in 2016, I became an absentee owner, and we started spending a lot of time with the kids. We started focusing on ourselves. We got married in 2016. I waited many, many years. How many years is that? 9 years to get married?
From 2007 to
2016?
16, it was like what, 8 years?
8, 9, going on 9 years. We were dating for 9 years.
Yeah, we were dating.
We waited so long to get married because I wanted to give you a beautiful princess wedding. And I think I did that. We got married at the Mission Inn in Riverside. And we had over 150 guests there, and we went all out, you know, spent a lot of money. It was a very expensive wedding, but that's really what I wanted. And that's why we waited so long. So in 2016, we were able to do it. What do you remember about 2016?
2016, that's when, like you said, you hired the new general manager. You took a few steps back. You know, you were more like a dad, husband, stay home with the kids, you know, their sports, their activities. You were still...
I was a baseball coach. Don't forget that part.
Yeah, you were a baseball coach, of course. You were still involved in your business because you were like I call it like the coach of, like any coach, right? You were the coach. You would always tell them what to do. You were an absentee owner at the same time, but maybe 10% of your time, 20%, you were guiding them where to the home run. Or
yeah, I mean, I always kept an eye on the business. Like, all right, where are we generating revenue? What portfolios are we going to work? What's our, liquidations look like? Who's our top clients? What debt should I be buying? And just kind of like coaching the general manager. I didn't see it that way before. Now that he left the company, it's been several years now since we parted ways. And all that's happened is we've grown. We've grown. So I used to think that he was going to be the one to grow the business for us. And now that you've pointed it out to me several times in the last few years, you've repeatedly told me, you're the one that was always coaching him. And I never seen it like that. I never thought of it, but I guess you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys know out there, if you're a business person out there, you know that without you, your company doesn't run. In that case, then they should have opened their own business, or, you always there's always a head. There's always that
The visionary,
guy, you know,
the visionary.
and that was you. So I think you are, and you're always gonna be one. So, but going back to that time frame from 2016 to
2016 and 17. 17 was also a year where we were just enjoying our money. Yeah, we had the general manager running the company for us. And it was great. From 2017, that's when we bought our first house. We fixed our credit, paid a lot of taxes, paid off a lot of debt, a medical debt, $25,000. That's why when you tell me, when people say, I have too much debt, I can't get out of debt, it's you. You're the problem. There's always a way.
Oh, there's people out there too, guys. Don't be misdirected with people out there too saying that you don't have to pay your debt. But you do have to pay your debt. We tried not to pay it, and we couldn't even qualify for him. Or, but there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, you don't have to pay your credit or whatever that you have. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You have to pay it. If you want to become a different person, if you still want to be the person you are now.
In collections, guys, I know it's going to sound inappropriate. It's going to sound harsh. It's going to sound brutal, but this is the truth. This is the culture of debt collections. We call those people that just have the ability to pay and don't want to pay, we call them maggots. They're maggots. They're maggots in the financial industry. So I'm going to give them the perfect example. I had a $25,000 medical bill. In 2011, I was playing adult softball and I was playing left field. They hit the ball over my head. I ran out to try to catch the ball. I was wearing my cleats. I stepped on the sidewalk and I slipped and I snapped my foot off of my ankle. And I didn't have insurance. I was a contractor working at a collection agency. I didn't have medical insurance. So that surgery and that whole thing cost $25,000. It was on my credit.
That bill was just $25,000.
Yeah, it was a lot of small. It was $15,000. And then there was a bunch of other ones that added up to another 10 grand. So when they say, we see it on TikTok, Nataly, it pisses me off. We see it on TikTok, Nataly's like, look at this clown talking about you don't have to pay your bills, dispute it. You don't have to pay collection agencies. That's bullshit. Like to buy a house, we had to pay $25,000 and I own a collection agency. I know how to settle debt. And some creditors like that hospital, some medical bills, they will not settle with you. We settle accounts. I'll take 75% of the balance and close your account for the most part. Some of our clients don't let us settle. We do a lot of collections for bail bonds companies now. There's certain creditors, they won't let us settle. We're their collection agency. We work for them and they'll say, you cannot settle. You can take payment arrangements. You can, get creative on working with them, but you cannot settle my accounts. I'm not going to write it off. So I had to pay $25,000 to medical to get off of my credit or to show that it was paid in order for us to qualify for the loan for a $750,000 house in 2017. That's when we realized that there's no way around it. You have to, and I'm sorry for, cursing, but you have to pay your fucking bills, guys. Straight up. And
if you can, a lot of people can, right? Just do payments, call them and do payments and better your life. We say it because we went through it. I didn't want to pay a $25,000 medical bill, but you have to do what you have to do in order to move on to your life, to have a better life. So that's
while we're talking about that subject too, it's also paying taxes. So there's ways to do it and there's ways to get around it. For us, what we do, I hope the IRS is not listening, but for us, what we do is we write everything off by buying real estate. So like, what are you going to take from me if all of my extra liquid cash, we still have to pay a lot of taxes, but excess liquid cash, what we do is we park it in real estate because they're write-offs. And it's like depositing it in the bank. I would rather have the money in real estate than to have it in the bank. That's just us. That's just me and Nataly. That's how we think because we studied real estate investing for the past 3 years. So that's just us. But even when we bought our house in 2017, we had to pay like $70,000 to the IRS in taxes in order to report the income that we needed to qualify for the house without giving 20% down. Now, all the properties that we buy, we give 20% down on all the properties that we buy here in the United States. Properties that we buy in other countries like Dubai and Mexico, we either set up payments while we're building. So like Tulum, for example, one of the penthouse cost us like $230,000. We paid that within a year while they were building it. We were paying like $20,000, $30,000 a month, just big chunks. We're doing the same thing with another Tulum property, same thing with Dubai. But it just goes to show you that there's no cutting corners. You either come up with a bunch of cash for a huge down payment so that they don't verify your income in your tax returns. You're still gonna have to show money in the bank accounts, or you give that 20% down, or you pay a lot in taxes to report the income. And we had to go through that when we bought our house, our first house, very first home in 2017.
Yeah, so going back to 2017, for our business, you know, I was still a single mom until 2019.
2019. So
COVID happened.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. It also gets kind of sad. So 2016, I hired a general manager who ran the company for me. 17, you know, we got married, enjoying our money, traveled to Paris for the first time for our honeymoon. 2018, we're just doing life, going to Cancun, hanging out in Mexico, living in Mexico. We have a house in Jalisco. I'd be riding horses, drinking tequila all day, like just enjoying life, you know, spending all my time with my family. And Nataly still stay-home mom at this time, but I was kind of a stay-home dad at this point too, I guess you could say, right? In 2019, kind of same thing, just enjoying our money. You're making $300,000, $400,000 a year. We think we're rich, you know. I think I'm Superman. Nothing can stop me. So I want you guys to think about this. 16, 17, 18, 19. 4 years of being an absentee owner, pretty much. You know, spending maybe 10% of my time on the business, 90% of my time just with the family. In 2019, we caught a huge lawsuit and the business started dipping and it got very scary. I talk about this a lot on social media. I've said this a lot on stages, speaking at events. I literally had $30,000 in the bank at the end of 2019, and I had about 15 to 25 employees at the time. I don't remember the exact number, but that's very scary. I'm like, how am I going to cover payroll? You know, what do you remember about 2019? Do you remember some of the conversations at the end of that year that we used to have?
Yes, I remember you coming home and said to me, oh, I need to talk to you, honey. I'm very stressed. We have this lawsuit. And I think we have to sell our home. Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember if we had any investments at that time. We need to sell everything we have. And then we have to go back, I don't know, renting an apartment, starting all over. You know, I said, and I told you, and I said, don't worry, let's do it. If we did it once, we could do it again. So I wasn't scared. Yes, we were scared for that lawsuit for our kids. You know, the lifestyle that you have now, to go back to the lifestyle that your kids were not raised or known about that life. It's going to be hard for them, but not for us. So I told them, we have to do whatever we have to do. If we have to go back to working 2 jobs, we're going to do it. So thank God, luckily, God is great. I always say that. The lawsuit went away. And, but I still remember him coming home every day almost and telling me, hey, what are we going to do? Like, what do you think? You know? And like, he was stressing. I think he was stressing more of what I was going to think or was what I was going to do.
I don't want you to leave me, honey.
To leave you and let you broke, you know. So I think that was.
But I didn't want it. So one thing that I talked about in part 1 and I'll remind everyone, is that when I met you, we met at a collection agency. Nataly got hired there through one of my buddies got her brother hired, Peter. He's my admin director.
Let them watch part 1 first.
Yeah. Well, but I want to remind them. So when I met Nataly at the agency, I trained her. She was going through a separation. And I told myself, I'm like, if I get a chance with this girl, I'm going to spoil the shit out of her. I'm going to give her everything. She's going to be like, I'm going to make her the luckiest woman in the world because I'm going to give her the world. That's what I told myself when I met you. And I'm like, all I need is a chance.
I'm gonna remember
Haven't I gave you the,
day.
Nataly, haven't I gave you the fucking world?
Of course you have.
So,
Just being sarcastic.
I know, me too. So I want to remind everybody. So fast forward back to our life in 2019 when we're going through all this, and it's very scary, and I'm getting ready to lose the lifestyle that I've been able to give you. You know, we came from being broke. We came from having $5 to eat the whole weekend and having to eat at our parents' house and getting evicted from an apartment and getting our truck repoed and like being fucking broke to, all right, we make 300, 400,000 a year. I don't even know how much I made, but I made a lot of fucking money, right? 300, 400, 500. We thought we were rich. And then now I have $30,000 in the bank to pay payroll. Like, what are we going to do in 2019? So that's what broke my heart. That's what was the scariest. It wasn't even going back to zero. It wasn't that. It's like my kids they don't even remember what it was like being broke because they were too little to even know that we were broke. And now they're growing up and we're taking them on trips. Like I spend all my time with them. You know, we're in Cancun. Like we're eating out at nice restaurants. Like shit, the lifestyle was about to change. So what do you remember about the beginning of 2020? Now, by the way, the lawsuit got dismissed.
So I remember when the lawsuit went away, you know, your mind changed completely. I don't want to say your mind because your mind, but I want to say your perspective of being a businessman changed. You wanted to learn other businesses, you wanted to have more knowledge for other businesses because you didn't want to be just doing one business. You wanted to learn how to do investment in real estate. I think that situation that we had in 2019 changed your thinking of just focusing on one business. It was not right for you.
I think it was more this much. It was, I didn't want to be vulnerable again. I didn't want to be exposed again with just having one source of income. So that's when we discovered
real estate, wholesaling real estate. You know, he used to come home after New Year's of 2020. Every night he goes, I even told him, why don't you just go on YouTube, you know, learn other things? Maybe I heard real estate's good. And he goes, you know what, let me see. So I believe he went to
a podcast. I heard I was listening to Jordan Belfort's podcast.
Before that, he was searching on YouTube to learn other businesses. So, and the other business was real estate, how to do wholesaling. And he was learning, he was watching videos, you know, keep in mind at the same time, he was stressing, not so much anymore about the lawsuit, but he was stressing about revenue being in our bank account, or are we to pay our employees. So he learned that there was an investment opportunity. An investment opportunity, or was it a seminar?
It was a seminar.
Yeah. Opportunity to learn how to do investment in real estate. So he said, you know what, I found this guy on YouTube. It was Chris the Shark. And he says, I'm going to go to this guy, you know. It
was on Jordan Belfort's podcast. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast, and he had Chris the Shark is a good friend of mine now. He was on there doing a podcast with Jordan Belfort, and he said to go look him up on Instagram. So I did. And I didn't know anything about social media in 2020. I think I had like an Instagram, 100 followers.
We're all family.
It was crazy. So I had no social media presence at all in 2020. So we're going to have to leave the remaining of the story for part 3. So that's all the time we're going to give you guys today. But just know this. In 2020, things were very challenging. 2019, I don't know how I dodged a bullet and not went bankrupt. I did not go bankrupt, almost, damn near it. 2020, we recovered. And this is around the time when Nataly joined the company. And on part 3, we're going to be talking about our success story. So you guys already heard in part 1, our history, where we came from. You guys heard now in part 2 how I started my agency, how I broke off, how I thought we were rich and we weren't. I got slapped in the face with life. And then in part 3, you're going to learn how we became multimillionaires and massively successful, not just with our finances, but also our marriage, our family, learning how to lead ourselves, and becoming a true power couple.
Stay tuned.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment, and we'll see you next time on Mondays with Mike.